Welcome to the Michael Singer podcast, presented by Sounds True, in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information about Michael Singer's work, access to all prior episodes, and information about upcoming releases, we invite you to join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com.
Jagrative, Jai Masters. In the end, spiritual growth comes down to which of two things you feel is your natural state. Are you a troubled being with anxieties and fears and jealousies that needs to work these things through? Or are you a totally liberated being whose natural state is beyond your comprehension, and you're capable of achieving that? It's so funny because the different teachings of all these different teachers through the years, they focus on one or the other. Reach up for God, forget everything else, renounce the world, just keep your mind on God, keep your mind on everything, do everything that's taking you up. And the others teach, while you have an anchor that's holding you down, it's very difficult to go up because you're anchored. So the way these two paths merge, it's funny because the Bhagavad Gita really touches both, is if you let go of what's holding you down, you will go up. In other words, it accepts that your natural state is way beyond anything you can even comprehend. That is your natural state. In fact, someday you will understand that you're already there. There's no place to go. You're just looking in the wrong direction. If I stare at a picture on the wall, I'm not the picture. I'm sitting here in a chair, projecting my consciousness, my awareness of being, onto an object. The picture. I don't have to get up to do that, just like to shine a light. I don't have to get up to make the light hit the wall. It emanates. Well, consciousness does the same thing. That's what's called the light of consciousness. It emanates its awareness at whatever object it's looking at. It doesn't have to get up to touch the object or get closer to the object or so on. It is able to go there like light and shine on the object. The difference is light's not conscious. Maybe find out later it is. But anyways, light's not conscious, versus where awareness of being, consciousness, is conscious, obviously. It's conscious. So what it projects is awareness of being. So just even for a moment, contemplate how you can look at a mountain far, far away and be aware of it. You can see it. Your consciousness is conscious of it. But you didn't go there. Your consciousness projected its awareness onto that object. That's what's happening. That's the difference in those two paths. If your consciousness is seated in your natural state, it doesn't have to go anywhere. The natural state of your being is the source of the consciousness that's emanating out onto the objects. But if you're staring at depression, if you're staring at fear, if you're staring at jealousy, if you're staring at desires, if you're staring at lack, if you're staring at a self-concept that thinks highly of itself, or a self-concept that thinks too highly of itself, you're projecting your consciousness onto an object. Object being your ego, your insecurity, the emotions of jealousy, the thoughts of things. Those are objects that your consciousness is projecting itself onto. But we don't know that. I mean, spiritual people do. Eventually, they know that. That's what witness consciousness is. Witness consciousness is, I've stepped back enough to know that the source of my consciousness, the center of my consciousness, is where I am. But I have the ability to project that consciousness onto objects. And little by little, you realize, if I don't project it onto objects, I stay seated in where consciousness comes from. And then the journey becomes upward instead of downward. While you're projecting your awareness out into the world, out onto your emotions, out onto your thoughts, you're going down. You're much higher than that. But you're looking down. That's so important. I pray that people get this at one point in their life. You are looking down at your problems. If you don't look at your problems, they're not there. Everyone has different problems. Why? Because they're all staring at different things. That which was a problem to you yesterday is not a problem today. That was not a problem today, but is a problem tomorrow. It's what you're staring at. You're staring at what your mind is saying. You're staring at what your heart is feeling. You're staring at what the world is presenting in front of you. But you're not the conscious. You're not the consciousness. You're the projector of the consciousness. And that's what witness consciousness is you step back far enough to where the objects of consciousness can't pull you out. I can stay, I'm in this chair. I can look at the picture, but I don't have to. I'm not addicted to looking at the picture. I'm capable of withdrawing my consciousness from staring at the picture. Sometimes you're not capable, are you, of staring at emotions, staring at thoughts, staring at people, things, anything. Any object of consciousness you can become addicted to where that's all you stare at. It's called becoming fixated on it. That's a perfect term. Another word for fixated is addicted. You're addicted to that object. Why? Because you stared at it enough and it became a habit. You actually start identifying with what you stared at instead of identifying with you, who is the consciousness. That's the fall. That's it. So that once you identify with your ego, what is an ego? It's funny, psychology calls it a self-concept. A concept is not something that's real. It's something imaginary. It's a concept. What is your concept of this? That's neat that they call it a self-concept. It is something you built in your mind that thinks about yourself a certain way and thinks about other people different ways. You just got a whole barrage of stuff going on in your mind that you stare at. And since you stare at it for so long, you can't not stare at it. You actually identify with, that's me, that's who I am. I'm Paul Wilson, and I had this part in this play in the 5th grade, and then this happened, and my girlfriend broke up with me, and then this happened. No, those are experiences you are aware of. They're not who you are. They're not who you are. They're stored memories that you're staring at, but we're caught. We're completely caught, and that's the problem. So now you have a choice. Learn to let go. That's the terminology I always use, and we'll talk about what that means. Learn to let go of your addiction to staring at yourself. So it boils down to. Christ said you must die to be reborn. That's what he's talking about. You die of the personal self that you built in your mind and in your heart that says, this is who I am and things better be the way I want. I'm only okay if everything's the way I want. I'm never okay if things aren't. So you're staring at a problem. Therefore, you have constant problems. If you learn to not stare at what you built down there in your mind and in your heart, you're going to find out that you, who's in there, the consciousness, the awareness of being, it's God. It's the highest thing in the universe. When Christ said, my Father and I are one, it's because his awareness of being was not focused on anything below him. It was focused on where the consciousness was coming from. It's called the source of consciousness. Everything has a source. What is the source of your awareness? You don't know. You just know that you keep getting distracted by your thoughts and emotions and issues and the world and so on. You get pulled down into that. So spirituality is the path from darkness to light. It's the path from staring at what's dark. You know what you stare at is dark. You have problems with it every moment of your life. That's why people do drugs. That's why people do alcohol. That's why people try to find things that distract them from themselves. Understand that? You're constantly trying to get away from the disturbance that got built inside. So you get away by going outside, or in meditation and in yoga and the deep teachings, you get away by letting go inside and letting your natural state of being evolve and grow up. That's the spiritual path. So basically, the question comes down to, can you do that? Can everyone do that? What if you really got serious problems? A true spiritual being, a real spiritual teacher, has compassion to understand what it's like to have those mental and emotional problems. But they know that if you weren't staring at them, they wouldn't be there. When you stare at them, You fixate them, you hold them, and then you try to fix them. Well, if you're staring at a problem and trying to fix it, it ain't never getting fixed. You just have another one, another anxiety, another fear, another insecurity. Have you noticed? You can't fix the problem inside by doing things outside. Temporarily you can. Find somebody, feel all encouraged. I finally found somebody who loves me and I love them. And okay, then come back in a little while. For most cases, unless they really work on themselves, they're getting divorced, they're breaking up, they're doing all kinds of stuff. The very people that they thought they were everything. Why? Because everything keeps changing. So if you're trying to build your solution to your inner problem outside, we would just say it's temporal. It's always changing. The world never stays the same. It changes. Every moment you're having different experiences. Everyone's having different experiences. Therefore, they're changing all the time. You don't want that to happen. You put bars on your windows, you have insurance, you hold people together, you do everything you can to keep it the same. But if you haven't noticed, it doesn't stay the same. And then you have anxiety because you're afraid it's going to change. It is going to change. It does change. So the solution is not to go outside and get what you want. No one likes hearing me teach that. The solution is never to go outside and get what you want. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not evil. You're going to go to hell. You probably end up there because you get scared that it goes away and then people won't love you anymore and you do something wrong. And it's a mess inside. Come on. I shouldn't have to teach that. It's a mess inside. That's why we try to go outside to solve the mess inside. Can you do that? Yes, for short periods of time, you can definitely do that. But just like things can go your way and you feel better about them, I feel more comfortable because she's treating me nicely. I feel more comfortable because I've got a raise in the job. I feel more comfortable because I had a beautiful vacation. That's wonderful. It's beautiful. Things go your way, you feel better. What you have to go through to get them to go your way, well, we'll discuss that. And the fear that they won't stay that way. And it's a problem to think that you can control the outside to fix the inside. That's what I want to really focus on. Can you control the outside to fix the inside? You can try. Everybody's trying. Money, relationships, how people think of you. How hard do you work to get people to like you, to get people to think nicely of you, to make it match what you want? How many of you have different sets of friends that you behave one way with one set, like your parents, and another way with the other set or whatever? It's a lot of tension and insecurity and issues to try and solve your inner problem with the outside. And eventually, spirituality says, you can't. Don't get depressed. That's just staring at another part of you. Just understand, yes, you can't fix it outside, but you can fix it inside. And that's the essence of all real spiritual growth. What do you mean? How can I fix it inside? If I'm insecure and I don't think people like me, and everyone talks to me, I always think that what they're saying is not nice, even though I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm probably misunderstanding what they're saying, right? I just have this insecurity. I have terrible weakness inside. It's real. Don't tell me I don't have it. I understand it's there. Of course it's there. But I also understand that you're the one who notices that it's there. How do you know you feel weak? How do you know you feel insecure? How do you know you feel jealous? I'm asking you, how do you know? I don't know. I can look at you. I don't see anything. How do you know? Get yelled at me eventually because I'm in here and I'm conscious and I see it. I see what the heart feels. I see it get weak and I feel it get scared. Who sees this? You see, you really are conscious. It's like, who's staring at the picture? You are, but you can't get out. You have trouble getting out. It's so strong. It distracts your awareness constantly. You're starting to have a nice relationship and the mind starts saying, yeah, but what if I do something wrong? What is it they like so much about me? How can I make sure that I keep doing that? I'm not even sure what it was. That kind of junk goes on in there, doesn't it? And so then you try to go outside and try to do it right so that you don't have to feel that. It doesn't work. It just can't. No matter how old you are, no matter how much money you have, no matter what relationship you have, there's the inside. It's trying to solve the inside with the outside, and it keeps changing, and everyone has trouble. Everyone has trouble. I think we're very fortunate nowadays. The richest people in the world, are you sure you want to change places with them? They seem to be having a lot of problems. Everyone's suing everybody. Everybody's screaming and yelling. All right? It doesn't seem like it solves so much. And I think Hollywood has the highest divorce rate of any place in the world, right? It's like, so you're handsome, so you're beautiful, so you're popular. It doesn't stop you from having major problems. It's just another problem. I'm popular. Now I have to go to a party with all these important people. How can I make sure they still like me? I make sure I don't blow it. Okay? So I don't want to stress it. I don't want to get you depressed. But you're trying to solve your inner problem by manipulating and controlling the outside. And I don't care who you are and what it is. It can't work because it keeps changing. And you keep changing. Psychology says man is the sum of his learned experiences. It's not true. You're the consciousness that's aware that your psyche is the sum of your learned experiences. But let's just take it, all right? You're the sum of your learned experiences. What does that mean? You're constantly changing. Well, you're constantly having new experiences. You sit there and like, here's your best friend. I've been there for 5 years, my best friend, okay? And all of a sudden there's this article in the paper about that person. Then they never told you anything about any of this. All those 5 years. Still your best friend? I doubt it. The sum of your learned experiences. I say that over and over, and I wonder who's really listening. Every single experience you have comes in and competes with what you built inside. And it can change in a minute. Can it not? Don't you talk to me like that. How could you talk to me like that? I would never talk to you like that. I'm out of here. But yesterday you were saying, I love you with all my heart. So it ain't going to get fixed outside. Why? Because the problem's inside. And you can't fix the problem inside by manipulating and controlling or trying to manipulate and control the outside. So why is there a problem inside? I discussed that. We go over that over and over again. But it's worth it. Why is there a problem inside? Why is it not nice inside? Yesterday I gave a talk. You drop down to a planet. It's the nicest planet. No one's found anything even close, right? So you drop down to a planet, stay here for 80, 90, 100 years. What's the big deal? Have fun. Have a good time. You can't. Can you? Because it's not okay inside. Why? Because, long story short, just to get it down once and for all, things happen outside as they happen in place. There's snakes and butterflies and giraffes and mean people and nice people. And there's a lot of stuff in it. Constant everything going on out there. When it comes in, it has its nature. Buddhists talk about things have their nature. A rattlesnake, its vibration, not the snake itself. The energy it gives off is very different than the energy emanating from a butterfly. So the rattlesnake is scary. It's natural. Not supposed to not be scary. It is scary, all right? And the other is really beautiful and gentle. Things have their nature. Spirituality is not about denying the nature of things. Things have their nature. It's not about denying their nature. It's about honoring and respecting their nature. You don't pick up a rattlesnake, but you can let the butterfly land on your arm. You learn from your experiences. You're the sum of your learned experiences. So these things come in, you experience them. This is what it's supposed to be. You have these experiences. You're not renouncing or denying or anything. You have these experiences. They come in. They have different vibrations. If somebody talks nicely to you, they're not inside. They're outside, giving off the vibes, and you're getting them, and you process them inside, and some of them are pleasant, and some of them are not. When you're wise, you understand that's the end of it. Some things are pleasant when they come in. Some things are not. Is that a problem? Saturn has rings. Mercury does not. Is that okay with you? This person is in a bad mood today. They're not talking nicely to you. This person just won the lottery. They're being really, really nice to you. Are you okay with that? They feel different. They are different. There's nothing wrong with that. This is where you really get into the deep teachings. There's nothing wrong with anything. It just is what it is. How do you know it is? Because it's happening. How do you know that what happened was supposed to happen? Ready? Because it happened. How do you know it's supposed to rain today? Because it's raining. How do you know it's not supposed to rain now? Because it's not raining. If you want to go deeper, go to college and study meteorology and study psychology and study physics and study all the different reasons that things are the way they are. Doesn't matter because they are the way they are. So if you had an experience and it wasn't pleasant, you will never unhave that experience. You can't go backwards and erase it. No matter how many times you say you're sorry or if somebody apologizes, it happened. You can put the apology on top of it, but someday it's coming back up. Right? All the person has to do is act a little bit like that again. And you're like, you told me you would never do that again. right? So what happens is, from a spiritual point of view, you get to the point, I'll teach you how to do it takes time. You get to the point where I came down to the planet Earth, I woke up today, that's pretty neat, my body's still here. Did you make your body still be there? You hold those 35 trillion cells together, make sure they divide properly and communicate and pass all the blood, the energy from the blood system. You doing all that? No. So a wise person wakes up in the morning and say, oh, look, it's still here. It's still doing its thing. Do you get amazed that if you get a cut and you leave it alone, maybe put some antiseptic on it, I got a Band-Aid on it, and it goes away by itself. What the heck's going on there? You don't even pay any attention to it in any way, shape, or form. All you care about is what you want and what you don't want. And you just take all the rest for granted. A wise person does not do that. They pay attention to what's going on. I'm conscious, and this is a phenomenal body. That's amazing. It's old, still can do things. It's crazy. How can you even talk about it? Your heart. Your entire life. If it didn't do that, you would not be here. Are you doing it? No. I've talked that. I gave a whole talk on this once. It's all just happening by itself. It's a happening place. Okay? And things happen. That's it. Can the heart get sick? Yes. Can there be hospitals? Did you build them? Did you make MRI machines? Did you come up with the surgeries? Did you train the doctors? You didn't do anything. I'm going to cry. I hate to talk to you like this. I'm sorry. You didn't do anything. You're the recipient of everything, but you don't pay attention to that. So what happens is when a person gets wise, they do pay attention to that instead of paying attention to what they want and what they don't want, which really has nothing to do with anything. It is what it is. How do you know? Because it is. Be here now. Pay attention. Let what it is be. The Zen teacher told you to go to a very Zen master. Go in for this wonderful experience of being in the presence of a great Zen master. And he says, grass is green, water is blue, flowers are red. Go home. What? What kind of teaching is that? It's the teaching. It's just things are what they are. If you want to study how they got that way, all you're doing is studying the history of all the interactions that happened first that made it be like that. You really want to know all that? Even personal, somebody yells at you, or not nice to you. Yeah, everything inside is going crazy. How could you talk to me like that? Why are you yelling at me? I didn't do anything. All right? So let's say you really ask the question. Let's say you meant it. How could you talk to me like that? Why are you talking to me like that? Well, you want to find out? Go back to where they're born and then look at the sum of their experiences. Are they not the sum of their learned experiences? Freud, right? Mommy did this, daddy did this, boyfriend did this, girlfriend did this, mosquitoes did this, ants did this. Every single experience that person went through culminated in the moment that they are standing in front of you, interacting with you. So now you understand how they could say that. All right? So what happens is the events come in. They're supposed to be experienced by you. They're not supposed to be experienced. It's like God created heavens and earth so that he can experience himself. And you're the ambassador, the emissary of that. Your consciousness is divine consciousness experiencing divine creation. How about I say that? I wonder who really understands that as God. Your awareness, there's only one awareness that's just focusing on you. Same awareness. Your awareness is the divine awareness, the universal, omnipresent, eternal awareness, focusing on what you're experiencing, on what's going on, so that God can experience the creation he created. All right? But that's not what happens. What happens if it comes in and it's strong enough, uncomfortable, the consciousness came down too close to staring at it. If I stare at the picture, and that picture's like my life, I stare at it, and an ant crawls on the picture, I'm freaking out. It's not the way I want it to be, et cetera, et cetera. That's what happens. So consciousness is experiencing reality. It comes in, and at some point, I told you yesterday, I'm not going to draw that point. I can explain it. It just is. The consciousness comes down, focuses on it, and gets stuck. It put so much focus on it that it doesn't pass through. What happened doesn't pass through anymore. In a sense, the conscious is resisting the experience. Do you resist things inside? Answer me. The consciousness, you are pushing against the experience. Not the experience is outside, but the energy of the experience came in, and you don't want to feel it. I don't want to be talked to like that. I don't want to feel this. I don't want that. And so you resist. How about I use that word? I want to see you smile. Constant resistance. The weather's too hot. The driver's too slow. The person's not talking to me right. I don't like my neighbor. You resist. You're in there, push it away. And when you do that, I'm going to give you a big lecture on it. I've done it 1,000 times. It stays in there. Why? Because resistance holds it in there. When you resist something, you're pushing it away. Well, where does it go? Energy can't stop. And what it does is cycle around itself. It's like it has to keep moving. So it does this, cycles around. Then it can stay in one place and still move. And in yoga, we call that a samskara. That's a blockage. It's a pattern. Like, make a big examples of it. The Hoover Dam, the Colorado River has never, ever for one moment stopped wanting to go back through that dam. You put one crack and it's coming through, all right? You have to watch it constantly, right or wrong. That's the same thing in here. You pushed that energy that was meant to pass through, you pushed it away, and you held on to it, keeps coming back up, comes up in your dreams, comes up because somebody reminds you of it, somebody says something, when it doesn't, it comes up, and you keep pushing it back down. So it stays in there. That's the key. The stuff you held in there builds a structure in your mind that's not supposed to be there. That's different than memory. You don't have to resist memory. Somebody says to you, okay, they'll go down the road and there's 156th Street and then there's this. You listen. You know, now, if you're insecure, you say, oh, I won't remember that. Don't tell me that. I can't hear that. Oh, good. Now it's going to stay in there and be a mess. But if you sit there and say, I remember, okay, 156, it just passes through. You have it. Want to bring it back? It comes back. It can come back. Doesn't have to be suppressed. That's suppressing. You have to suppress everything to remember it. You suppress the things that you don't want to experience. So it doesn't make it back into long-term memory. And normally the flow as it comes in from the outside creates the vibration inside once it came through the senses. And then it comes up, hits the mind, the heart. It comes right through, having that experience. Any notion to be created, thoughts get created, and they pass right through. They're just here now. They're just passing through. Ramakrishna said it's like anger to an enlightened being is like riding on water. Did it happen? Yes. Can you see it? No. It just passed right through. So everything just passes through, and part of passing through is it gets stored in memory on its way up, and if you want to bring it back, you bring it back. Not a problem at all. There's nothing wrong with memory at all. Nothing. Nothing wrong with experience. Nothing. They're just the experience you're having, and you can bring it back. But if you resist the experience, it stays inside. It stays in a very special place inside called your heart. All right? And you build these blockages inside so that now they are there, and now the snake is not there anymore, but you're afraid that it will be someday. You built a thought pattern inside out of an event that took place that it doesn't need to be in there. If somebody sees a snake and gets scared, like let's say they see a rattlesnake out here, how many times have you come out? Well, I've been coming out every single Thursday and Monday for about 20 years. How many rattlesnakes have you seen? None. So now you're going to freak out and be afraid that every time you come out here, there might be a rattlesnake. Or somebody might talk to you a way you don't want to be talked to. Anything, everything, okay? Or you go your whole life and you're not sick. And all of a sudden you get sick. There's a problem with the heart, problem with the lungs. There's something wrong, right? Now from then on, you're scared. I'm going to get sick again. You didn't get sick all those years, every single minute, every day. Why are you fixating on the one time you got sick? And you're going to find out it doesn't help. All it does is create this blockage inside of your mind and heart that then projects outside fear, insecurity, everything. You built an ego. That's what you did. What's the ego made out of? The sum of your learned experiences. Not all of them. The ones you couldn't handle. That's what the ego is made out of. And then you build this person that likes things and doesn't like things. How can you like and not like things? They're there. They happen. They've happened everywhere. In the entire universe, things are happening. You had these tiny experiences that happened, and it didn't make it through. So now you're afraid, and you built a whole model inside of yourself of what I like and what I don't like, and what's right and what's wrong, and what should happen, what shouldn't happen, based on what me. How do I know it's just you? Because everybody disagrees. That's why there's war. That's why there's disharmony. Because everybody decided, based on their past experiences, what they like and what they don't like. You didn't make up what you like. You had experiences that felt good. So you want that to happen again. You didn't make what you don't like. You had experiences that felt bad. You don't want it to happen again. And that, I just defined your ego. That's what it is. And now you go out there, like I said, you go out there and try to manipulate every person you meet, everything that happens, every situation to match what you like and what you don't like. And that's a lot of stress, isn't it? A lot of struggle. Spirituality says the problem is not what's happening outside. It's a happening place. It's happening everywhere. It's all over the universe. There's black holes eating galaxies. There's bugs eating plants. There's everything. There's everything. And if you can't handle it, then you can't handle it. Then you're going to be very not happy, all right? Because you can only handle the things that felt good when they happened and you can't handle the ones that felt bad. And you build this model of yourself that likes this and doesn't like the other. So what's the answer? If the problem is that you resisted life and built a whole model of how things should and shouldn't be based on you, maybe the answer is don't do that. Don't do what? Well, let's start simple. Don't today resist what's happening. If it's happening, accept and honor, respect that it happened. So the first thing I need to learn to do, and you actually learn to do it, it's not natural. The first thing you learn to do is if I feel a tendency to resist it, I relax instead. And that's the whole key. So everything I learned in all these years, there is a tendency to resist it, to push it away. What happens if I relax instead? Then you don't push it away. But if I don't push it away and it's not comfortable, it gets more not comfortable because it comes all the way in. It came closer to my consciousness, didn't it? That has to be okay with you. You have to be willing to accept that some things feel good and some things don't feel good. And don't cling to the ones that feel good. Why? Because you'll get disappointed if they don't happen again. Because you get jealous if somebody else happens for them and not you. Everything makes a mess. Instead, you say, I can handle nice things. Congratulations. No one's teaching not to handle nice things. They're saying, don't get caught fixated on them, begging for them to happen again, and doing all kind of mess so that you can't handle that it happened once, and how do I get it to happen again? I can't talk about it. You know, it's like in there, even things that you like. Go fall in love with somebody and see how neurotic you get. That's why people have trouble with relationships. It changes, and you can't handle that. You want it to stay the same. So, and then when things happen that you don't like, you can't handle that. And so you push it away. So what you do is you wake up in the morning, I'm back. What's going to happen? Things are going to happen. All right? John Lennon, in one of the Beatles songs, said, life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. Has anyone noticed? I missed the plane. I missed the airport. Oh my God, the car was... Life is what happens to you. There ain't much you can do about it. Everywhere is all the time, right? And plus, I already told you, if your 35 trillion cells can do the thing, and your heart can do the thing, and if the air can do the thing, and rain can, if everything's happening anyways, what the heck are you doing saying it's not the way I want? 99.9% of it is so much the way you want. It wouldn't be alive if it wasn't that way. So what you say is, okay, today, I'm not going to put any more in there. I can't get all this stuff out. It's too freaky to even look at. I wonder about that. But right now, I'm going to walk through this day. I'll do my work. I'll go to work. I'll take care of children, whatever I'm doing. And I'm not going to resist the experiences I'm having. What do you mean? I'm carrying a milk bottle and I slip a little bit and it breaks and it falls on the floor. What's that expression? Don't cry over spilt milk. Okay, that's what happened. I'll clean it up and I will not resist. But I feel the tendency to resist. Relax. Relax to the tendency to resist. That's the highest thing I can ever teach you. Can you do that? Of course you can do that. Just do it. Just relax. Let go. Relax. Relax your shoulders, relax your tummy, relax your buttocks. Just relax instead of attacking. It's like judo. They teach you in judo that if somebody comes at you who's much bigger than you, don't stand up against them and fight that energy. Bend. Let them fall over you. It's exactly the same. Okay? It comes in, you feel the tendency to resist, and you relax. Well, why would I do that? I don't want the experience. Because you don't want it, then you don't want to keep it. How's that a solution? Let's just keep every experience we ever had that we didn't like and keep not liking it and making the world not hit it. I'd rather go through right now. It doesn't feel good. Let it pass through. I'll relax through it. Okay? And you just understand the teachings. This is the merger between the world's got blockages and you are a high being. You let go. You don't put more in there. And as you do that, you're going to find out you can actually do that. You can actually not get upset about the driver in front of you who's driving 15 miles an hour below the speed limit. You don't really have to swerve out and see your cars coming in a 2-lane highway and get yourself all neurotic. You can sit there and say, ready? I can handle this. Why? Because you can. You just don't bother. You start bothering. And you start noticing that I'm not as uptight as I used to be. Why? Because you're not making yourself uptight about stupid stuff. All right? And you just keep relaxing through it. Let's go a little faster. And then what happens is you learn how to do that. Just like you learn tennis, you learn golf, you learn the piano, you learn all kinds of things. Why can't you learn this? It's the most important thing you'll ever learn. Now the inside is not as disturbed as it used to be. Why? Because you're not keeping disturbance inside of you. I'm not saying there isn't disturbance, but you let it pass. Hey, there's day and night. I don't like the night. It's scary. I don't like the day. It's shining. It's too bright. What are you doing? There's day and night. Stop it. Just start honoring and respecting the right for things to be what they are. Now, I always have to put the caveat in. Once you have let go, does that mean there's nothing to deal with? No, it does not mean that. Once you let go, and you're not freaked out by what's happening, you can look at it and make a positive contribution to help things. But you're not doing it because you can't handle it. You're doing it because you can handle it. Do you understand the difference? Somebody said something. They're in a bad mood. Okay, fine. I'll let go. I don't want to be reactive. I don't want to ruin the relationship over one stupid conversation. I'm a conscious being, and I'm going to let go. Then you look and you see, is there something that needs to be dealt with here? Not because you're not okay, because you are okay. And you know what ends up happening? Instead of pushing back and being defensive, when you get clear, you're there, you're clean. All of a sudden you care more about what's wrong. Why is the other person having trouble? What can I do to help? Not what does the other person have to do to help me because I can't handle it. And all that happens is we push it out, then they get hit again. Then that's where all the arguments come from. That's where all the disharmony comes from. I haven't noticed. Just sit there and defend yourself. I did not say that. Why are you saying I said that? You did so. And instead, you just sit there and say, fine, what's the difference? It's irrelevant. I'm on a planet in the middle of nowhere, spinning through space. I can handle that somebody said something. And you let go. And what happens, you learn to do it. And you learn to do it. And you learn to do it. And now what we talked about to start with starts happening by itself. You are now not staring down at your problems. You are starting to be lifted up by the energy passing through you. And that's what happens. And all this Shakti, all this energy starts flowing inside of you spontaneously. Why? It was always there. It's your nature. But you've blocked it with all the garbage you put in there. And once you start feeling that, you start saying, I think I like this. I think I like being happy. I think I like not being bothered by what's happening outside, but help it, but not being bothered by it. You become somebody who's serving instead of somebody who's taking and manipulating. And then it gets higher again. And then something bigger happens and it gets higher again. And then I have to put the skull and crossbones of the warning sign. At some point, you're not putting more stuff in there. I don't want to tell you, the old stuff starts coming up. What old stuff? All the old stuff. Why? Because it's what we call a lifo-stack, for those of you who know business. A last in and first out. When you shove the stuff on top, it pushes the other stuff down further. And that which was put in last has to come up, or for the other stuff to come up. When you stop shoving more stuff down there, the cap is open. The old stuff starts naturally coming up. Maybe you need help. Maybe you need a therapist. I don't know. All I know is it's coming up. Why? Because it's down there. And that's when the real teachings take place. What do? I was so happy. I felt so good. And then all of a sudden, I have all these problems that remember my childhood and what my first wife did and so on. What in the heck? What am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. You want that stuff out. You want it to come up. You don't want it in there. If you think you got happy when you weren't putting more stuff down there, wait till you see what happens when you let go of one of those big things. All of a sudden, it doesn't bother you anymore. All of a sudden, you're always self-conscious and afraid to go to a party. Somebody might not like you, or there might be somebody there who once spoke badly about you. And now you learn to handle different people's things and so on. And now someone says you want to go to the party, and you don't even think about it. Yeah, sure. And the insecurity's gone. Why? Because the foundation that caused it got released. You let go of it. And are you more secure? No, you're less insecure. You're already totally secure. You're a great being. You're a free, liberated being inside. You have to get more secure. You have to stop putting insecurity on top of your total well-being. And it starts coming up by itself. And that's where I told you, the new book, Wisdom Untethered, goes very deeply into these questions, how to deal with this stuff. So what do you do when it comes up? Right now, you push it away. You push it back down. Get out of my face. I don't want to deal with this. And start blaming everybody. Never talked to your sister for 10 years because something that happened. And instead, you let go. You let go. And as you let go, more energy comes up. And eventually you catch on. You say, I don't want to complain about this process of stuff coming up. I want to help it. I want it to come up. I'm happy to have it come up because I don't want it in there. And the only way it's not going to be in there is for it to come out. The question is, can you handle it? And eventually it's not just I can handle it. You start becoming, how can I help it? And you start realizing, I'm going really deep with you guys. You start realizing you put that stuff in there. It didn't go in there by itself. You held it in there. So you start taking some ownership. And you literally reach the point where you look at the darkest part of your being that's caused all this trouble. That's why you used to drink. That's why you did drugs. That's why you never could keep a relationship. There it is, right in your face. And it starts coming up little by little. Chip pieces come up, right? And you eventually get clear enough where you say, do you want that in there? No. Does it want to be in there? Obviously not. It keeps trying to come up. Keeps in my face all the time, right? I'm afraid of it. Well, maybe I can help it. How do you help it? You literally get to the point where you apologize to that part of your being, your ego, that stuff you stored in there, your whole self-concept. You built that thing. Now it's causing all kinds of trouble. And you just look down at it and you say, I am sorry that I shoved you into a closet. What is suppression? Taking the worst thing that happened to you and shoving it into a closet. And you look at it and you say, you are welcome to come up. Yes, it's difficult for me, but I will work with that. You don't be afraid to come up. I want you coming up. I can handle whatever it is. Don't worry about me. I'm up here. You come on up. Come on up. And boy, it gets fast from then on. And more things happen outside. They hit your stuff inside. But now you're not fighting it. Now you're welcoming it. Now you're literally saying, come and get it. The expression, do you want a piece of me? What does that mean? Yeah, you can have it. I don't want it. I'm not interested in that. I don't want that junk in there. All right? And so you just keep letting go. And you get to the point where you realize this, the world is what it is. It's not about right or wrong or good or bad or just. It ain't. If you haven't noticed, it ain't about that stuff. All kinds of stuff goes on. And you just sit there and say, good, fine. Let it come in. Let it hit what it hits. And let me let go. I once described it as follows. You are a block of marble cut right out of the mountains. It's all jagged and it's a big old 6-foot block. And you're sitting there minding your own business and everything's bothering you. The wind's blowing by there, hits it, and this happened, that happened. Then all of a sudden, there's this big chip at you. Bam! Something chips at you. Leave me alone. Stop it. See, something hits you hard. Then again and again and again, you keep fighting it all you can. And then at some point, you look at your left block and it's not like a rough block anymore. There's this arm coming out of the marble. What's going on? Life is chiseling the impurities that you stored inside, and David's going to come out, okay? You start seeing this beautiful being. That's what's left when life's can chisel you free. God's chiseling you out. But it doesn't feel good, does it? Until eventually you catch on, oh, I know what it feels like. This is beautiful. I want to relax, make it easier. And that's what you do. And then your entire path becomes letting go of what's coming up. It's not a problem. You're just growing, you're evolving. And eventually you catch on that so much energy is left because you're not, how much energy do you use to suppress your stuff? Ever since you're little, how much energy is keeping everything down there that you didn't like, that happened to you during your life? It doesn't sit there idle. You have to keep resisting it. And eventually that energy is not necessary anymore because you're willing to let it up. And so the energy that was behind it, being used to fight it, is not fighting anymore. And that's the Shakti flow. You start feeling this tremendous upward flow of energy. And it's blissful, it's ecstatic, it's love. That's what love is. The upward flow of energy passing through your heart. That's what wisdom and inspiration is. The upward flow of energy expressing itself in your mind, in music, in creativity. You become a great being because you stop holding on to what was making you not a great being. And you eventually reach a point you realize, not only am I a great being, so is everybody. You start realizing that, forgive them, Lord, for they don't know what they do. They're just lost and they're doing all kinds of weird stuff. But I've reached a point where everyone's beautiful. They're just lost. How can I help? I love that the Bible said, I'm not a Bible reader. I read it once in 1971 or something like that, but I keep hearing it. I think you'll find out that Christ said, I was in prison and you came to visit me. Since the whole thing is all about understanding that everyone's a great being. And yes, they're full of their stuff and it's very difficult to get along with them, but you can, and you do, and you help. That's what's being taught with all the great teaching, not just Christ's teachings, but the Buddha is certainly that way. And the Kabbalah is exactly that way. And the Jewish tradition and the Hindu traditions is exactly what it's about. And you eventually get to the point where you realize, if I let go of myself that got built in here, something very great comes out. And it does really beautiful help. It helps. Eventually, you just become a helping machine. You're not trying to. That's the hardest part for me to talk about. You're not saying, I want to help. You don't help people. You don't have a concept of helping people. It just happens. When you're not busy helping yourself, needing to help yourself, it's really funny what happens. Everything around you is being helped. Your energy, your presence, your words, anything. It's like a truly wise being doesn't think they're helping anybody. They don't have a self-concept of helping. They don't have a self-concept at all. That's the deep states, all right? And then you just see what comes out is phenomenal. So that's what I wanted to get is, we talked about working from the bottom. Now we're talking about working from the top. But what should happen is it happen naturally. It's not a struggle. It's a struggle to accept reality. And then when reality comes through and washes, Hercules, a story, I remember it from ninth grade. In ninth grade, I studied Latin. And we read the stories of Hercules in Latin, all right? And I'll never forget, that was a long time ago, I'm old. And Hercules had this thing, he had a challenge. They had all these tasks of Hercules. And one of them was, he was a big, strong guy, he had to clear out a stable that had hundreds of cattle for years and years in it. It was full of poop. And his job was, within 2 days or a day, clean the entire stable out of all the garbage that's there. It was impossible. The impossible task for Hercules. You know what Hercules did? He didn't try to clean up the stable. He redirected a river to flow through it. He dug the ditches. The river flew through it, washed out the entire stable, okay? That's what's happening here. You hear me? You're not fighting with everything. You're just releasing the energy so it can wash what's there. And eventually, that's what happens. You're not doing anything. It's just washing away what's left there. And when it comes up, it's ecstatic. It's a beautiful flow of energy. And there's only a few minutes left. I always like to finish the talk saying, well, that's pretty high stuff, isn't it? No, it's not. It's not high enough. It's high, but not high enough. Why? Because you're still there. You're still there letting go. You're still there welcoming. You're still there relaxing. You have to still be there to do that. It's an act of will. It's still you there. Eventually, so much energy comes up, and it's so beautiful. They can't handle it. It's like melting into music or melting into love. You're not there. You hear me? Ultimately, you're not there. you just go bye-bye. Yes or no? Ever gone bye-bye? And it comes up and you melt. That's what it boils down to. The consciousness melts into the experience it's having. When that starts happening enough, there's no reason for you to be there because the experience is so beautiful that you don't want to resist. You don't even want to be there. You just want to melt into the experience. And what happens when that melting starts, then the final pull pulls you up. And you realize you're not separate. You're the divine consciousness itself that's been busy looking down. Now it doesn't look down anymore. It takes you back to the source of consciousness. And that's what enlightenment is. That's what the great states, the great masters reached. That's what Christ meant by my Father and I are one. It's all the same teachings. And the amazing part is that's who you are. That's what's looking through your eyes. Something very, very great. The trouble is, it's staring down. I'll go back there. You know it is. It's staring down at all the junk you collected over the course of your experiences. But it does not have to be in there. You just keep letting go and letting go. All right. Jagged.
You've been listening to the Michael Singer Podcast, produced by Sounds True in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information on Michael's body of work and all back episodes, please join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. Sounds True, waking up the world.